looking at Outrun on the Sega Master System. Outrun is one of Sega's most popular and most well-known arcade titles, developed by Yu Suzuki, who designed or produced and directed a number of Sega games that you may be familiar with, like Hang On, Afterburner 2, Virtua Cop, Shenmue, and Ferrari F355 Challenge. Outrun's a pretty awesome game, and I spent a lot of time in the arcade playing this. There was one that had one of the stand-up versions of Outrun with the steering wheel, and I played that quite a bit. And the thing that always amazed me about Outrun was the hills. Because back in the day, back in the 80s, most driving games did not have hills. I always liked driving games, and the ones I spent most of the time playing were Pole Position and Pole Position 2 on my Atari 7800, so Outrun just blew me away. And Outrun remains my favorite arcade-style driving game ever created. I haven't played Outrun for many years, and when I recently picked up my Sega Power Base Converter, this is one of the first games I bought with it. And I spent hours playing Outrun, reliving the glory days of standing in the arcade, plugging quarters into my Ferrari Testarossa. And there's a great article in Retro Gamer magazine, and it's the issue that has Outrun on the front cover, that goes into depth on the game and the creation. And the thing about Outrun that makes it stand apart, and certainly made it stand apart back in the day when it was released in the late 80s, is that you're not just driving on a racetrack, trying to memorize a racetrack. You're driving on the open road, sort of. You have a variety of different paths that you can take to get to the end of Outrun as well, which was like a whole new thing back then. I remember thinking this game was like the choose-your-own-adventure of driving games, because you literally chose your own path. You could go through the mountains, you could go underneath those archaeological stone things that for whatever reason were hanging over the road. There's the level with windmills. There's the desert. That's actually a really hard one, and I avoid that one at all costs. The choice of car is really exciting. The Ferrari Testarossa, back when they had one of these in Miami Vice. Remember they had the white one? They had the black Daytona, but then they ended up getting the white Testarossa at one point. There's some games out today that still give you that feeling that Outrun does. Test Drive Unlimited is one that I enjoy a lot for the Xbox 360. Another game that puts you out on real roads in traffic rather than just confining you on a racetrack. Let's get to the Sega Master System version of this game and how it compares to the arcade. I also review the Sega Genesis version of Outrun. The Genesis is a more powerful game system, so here on the Master System we're looking at a more rudimentary version of Outrun, but it still looks good. There's a lot of flicker. There's some things like the palm trees at the beginning that pop on and off the screen, but overall the game is solid. The gameplay is very good, and the controls are excellent. On the Sega Master System version, unlike the Genesis version, which is different, and we'll get into that in the other review, you shift gears by pushing up and down. Sometimes this can be a bit complicated because there's no sound effect for the car, so sometimes you can knock yourself out of gear if you're turning left and right and just happen to slip up and down. If you knock your car out of gear, you might not notice right away because you can't hear anything, and that sometimes screws up your time a bit. It's a minor gripe. This is one of those rare 2-speed Ferrari Testarossas. They don't make them anymore. Similar to Enduro for the Atari 2600, you want to avoid running into things at all cost. If you hit the obstacles on the side of the road at a high speed, your car spins around and your characters go flying out of it, and you lose a lot of time. If you just bump into cars while you're driving, you merely slow down. So that's not too bad, but you really want to avoid like smashing into a windmill at 180 miles an hour. Which you also want to avoid doing that in real life. You only have two buttons, gas and brake. The object of the game is fairly simple. To complete the game as quickly as possible, there's a time at the top middle of the screen, and if you happen to run out of time while you're in the first, second, third, or fourth level, the game ends there. You get through all the levels depending on whatever path you want to take. If you get through all the levels, no matter what path you take, you then get to the end and get a whole lot of bonus points. Your score is on the top left. You also get scored for the cars that you pass. It's an exciting game. It has high replay value no matter what version of Outrun you get, because you can always try to improve your time. The Master System version is a bit clunky at times because it is jerky. The graphics on screen are jerky, so sometimes you're coming up over a hill, and even though you know where a car is, it's just difficult to maneuver around it. Things come at you pretty quickly sometimes. And it's easier to play on the Sega Genesis version, which is much smoother and just seems more clear. The arcade version was obviously vastly superior in the graphics and sound department. It had a steering wheel. The game benefits from a steering wheel. However, the conversions here for the Master System and the Genesis both play very well with the controllers and the D-pad. Alright, I won camels. Awesome. Not sure what I'm going to do with the camels, though. I don't know. Now, what's this? It looks like he's giving me a magic lamp. Might as well rub that magic lamp and see. Whoa! Holy shit! A harem! Now that's even better than camels. You're going to have to kick that blonde chick out of your car to fit all those other girls into it. Then you can just strap the camels onto the hood. In any event, when you complete the game or finish driving, they show you the path that you chose to drive and how far along you actually progressed, which is a really nice touch. Being that you choose your own path through Outrun, there's a variety of different locations, so we only saw just a couple of them in the review. The game also has 3 of the songs that were in the arcade version. I think there were only 3 songs in the arcade version. The Sega Genesis version of the game gives you 4 songs. And they're pretty cool songs. And that's Outrun for the Sega Master System. And doesn't this screen remind you a bit of Darius Gaiden on Sega Saturn, the way you choose your own path through the game? Except this game doesn't have gigantic fish alien end bosses that shoot all kinds of bullets and laser beams at you. Go play Outrun today and remind yourself how much fun this game really is.